The LA Kings can't get that big road win. Plus, we ask, why did the Kings start their backup goalie? Details on that and more on this edition of Locked On LA Kings.
You are Locked On Kings, your daily podcast on the Los Angeles Kings. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey, Kings fans, welcome to Locked On LA Kings, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Thanks for making Locked On LA Kings your first listen every day. We are free and available wherever you get your podcasts and on YouTube. I'm Eddie Garcia, your host of Locked On LA Kings. I've worked in sports media for the past 30 years, also co-host of the Puck Podcast, a weekly NHL review show that's been putting out content for the past 18 years, and a passionate LA Kings fan for over 30 years. The LA Kings played game 71 of the NHL season, a quick one-game road trip to face the Avalanche in Colorado. This is a big Western Conference matchup. Two teams playing great hockey of late. Kings had won 9 of 10. The Avalanche were 8-1-1 in their last 10 games. Both teams are battling for crucial points in the race for home ice advantage in the first round of the playoffs. LA looking to stay ahead of Edmonton. Colorado looking to chase down Dallas. LA was coming off a 3-1 home win on Tuesday over the New York Rangers. The Kings came in with a record of 40-21-9, but just 14-18-5 on the road this year. For Colorado, they were riding a 10-game home ice winning streak. Before we check the lineup in this one, injury news for the LA Kings, as Tanner Jeannot and Alex Turcotte both did not make the trip to Colorado, both out with injuries. For Turcotte, upper body injury. For Jeannot, we still haven't heard specifically what his injury could be. However, it appears there may be some good news with Tanner Jeannot, as head coach Jim Hiller said before the game against Colorado. He termed Jeannot day-to-day. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean he's going to be out just a few days. We've seen players be called day-to-day and missed a couple of weeks, so we'll see. But as it stands right now, Alex Turcotte and Tanner Jeannot listed as day-to-day. So usually when that's the case, it means that they will miss a couple of games. We did see Trevor Moore was day-to-day. He only missed one game recently. So based on that, I'm a little bit more encouraged on the status of Tanner Jeannot. I had said before, I was just hoping that he would be back in time for the playoffs. As for the Kings lineup, as a result of those injuries, Kings once again going with the 10-6 setup with, 12-6 setup with 12 forwards and 6 defensemen. The Andre Kopitar line, Andre Kopitar at center with Adrian Kempe and Andrei Kuzmenko. We've seen that ever since the trade deadline. You had Philip Deneau centering Warren Foegele and Trevor Lewis. Trevor Moore was back, not Trevor Lewis. Got confusing my Trevors. The Quentin Byfield line, Alex Laferriere and Kevin Fiala. And then the fourth line was really the only line affected by the injuries. So again, Alex Turcotte and Trevor, why am I talking about Trevors? Alex Turcotte and Tanner Jeannot off the fourth line. Samuel Helene is still centering, with Jeff Malott making his LA Kings debut and Trevor Lewis on the fourth line. So Akil Thomas, the healthy scratch. So the Kings don't go to Thomas. They go to Jeff Malott, who they just called up from Ontario in the AHL. The defensive pairing is exactly the same as they've been for a while. Mikey Anderson with Drew Doughty, Vladislav Gavrikov with Brant Clark, Joel Edmondson with Jordan Spence, with Jacob Moverar and Kyle Burrows as your healthy scratches among the blue liners. David Riddick was in net, while Darcy Kemper served as the backup. I have no idea why this decision was made. I disagreed with this decision. I do not understand at all why Darcy Kemper did not start this game. We're going to get into this more coming up later in the show. The big question for me going into this game, obviously we talk about, 2 points, 3 solid periods. That's what we want to see the rest of the season. But the Kings came into this game winning 9 of 10. Could they take some of that solid play and that success on the road? We know the Kings have been phenomenal at home. They've been mediocre on the road, but of late, they've been so good since the trade deadline. Could that translate into some road success? Well, as for the scoring summary in this one, we would have a scoreless opening period, pretty even period, although shots on goal weren't close. Colorado had 14 to the Kings 7, but it didn't feel like the Avalanche were dominating the game in any way. It felt like a pretty even back and forth kind of a game. Both teams were 0 for 1 on the power play. in that first period. However, the second period would be a different story and not a good story for the LA Kings, as Colorado would break the game open with 3 goals. 2 of them came less than 2 minutes apart, and 1 was on the power play. In the third period, Colorado added another power play goal, and in the end, it would be the Avalanche skating off with a 4-0 win over the LA Kings. Kings fall to 40, 22, and 9 overall in the season now, 14, 19, and 5 on the road. As for the game stats in this one, Kings lose 4-0. Shots on goal favored the Avalanche 26-22, but it didn't really feel that close. Maybe the Kings got some extra shots in the third period where this one was kind of out of hand and the Avalanche were just kind of sitting on a lead. Power play, special teams, not close in this one. Colorado 2 for 3 with a man advantage. LA was 0 for 3. That was a huge, huge part of this one. Face-offs were even, 30 apiece. Hits favored LA 17-15. Block shots favored Colorado 15-8. So what was good from a team standpoint for the Kings? And part of me hates to say this because showing up and working hard and trying your best, that's what you're supposed to do every game. But we do know that there are times when teams, for whatever reason, even in a big game, kind of don't show up. I don't think that was the case for the Kings. I don't feel like they just didn't show up for this game. They had some decent scoring chances, and overall, I thought it wasn't, they didn't get their, look, the score is not good. But the Kings have played worse, I guess is what I'm trying to say. And I'm trying to find something good to say. It wasn't a terrible performance with the Kings, but it wasn't close to being good enough either. So what was not so good for the Kings? This was a lot easier to tell you about. Not enough shots. Didn't finish when they had some decent scoring chances. Power play has been better at home. Still bad on the road. It didn't look good at all in this one on those 3 power play chances. The penalty kill has improved, but I have a question about it against elite power plays, against elite players like the Colorado Avalanche have, Nathan MacKinnon, Cale Makar, like the Oilers have, Leon Draisaitl, Connor McDavid. It still remains to be seen how the Kings changed power play, improved power play from last year. How is that aggressive power play going to be effective in playoff games against elite competition? I don't know the answer to that, but looking at how they performed in this particular game, it's a little bit of a concern for me. One of the coach's quotes we're going to read from Jim Hiller was talking about the loss against Colorado, and the Kings head coach said this, quote, "Yeah, I thought we started all right, but we didn't have our best stuff. There's no question. Just we didn't connect on much. I just didn't think we were very good. We didn't give them a lot, but we just didn't create much ourselves. We just weren't sharp." End quote. That was the first quote we're going to read from head coach Jim Hiller. My big takeaway from this game, look, there's no shame in losing to a very good Colorado Avalanche team on the road. But obviously it still has to be a concern that the Kings continue to be a different team on the road than they are at home. Now, they've been astounding at home, so maybe look, I don't think any of us are expecting for them to take that kind of success on the road necessarily, but it's so drastically different that it has to be a concern. And I mentioned earlier, could the Kings take that recent success from the trade deadline to now and carry that on the road? And the answer certainly for this game is no. So, you know, watching this game, it definitely felt like Colorado was a better team. I would certainly feel a lot better about it if the Kings had lost 4-3 and you say, okay, fine, the better team at home won, but that really wasn't the case. So we'll see how the LA Kings match up against the Avalanche next month when they host them. Maybe it looks completely the other way. Maybe the Kings are the team that's clearly better over the Avalanche. We'll have to wait and see about that. But other than the first period of this game, the Kings didn't look in the same class as the Avalanche in this one. And I talked about the Kings penalty kill being concerning against elite talent. I also would say the Kings defense, also a little bit of a concern. They play that one-on-one, man-on-man defense. And can they play that consistently and successfully against elite talent like Nathan MacKinnon, like Cale Makar, like Connor McDavid, like Leon Draisaitl? Because over 3 periods of hockey, those coaching staffs are going to devise ways to get mismatch and get those types of players matched up against a certain player where they create an advantage and they exploit it for a good scoring chance, or maybe they get a penalty and get on a power play. So that is also a little bit of a concern, what I saw in this game as well for the Kings. All right, up next, we're going to get into some individual performances for the Kings and their loss to the Avalanche, and I am going to rant about the Kings starting their backup goalie. That's next. You're on Locked On LA Kings, your team every day. If you're like me, your mornings have to start with a good cup of coffee, but I got tired of settling for grocery store brands that just weren't cutting it. That's why I turned to Trade. And let me tell you, this coffee is next level. Trade is the #1 specialty coffee marketplace in the U.S., bringing you fresh coffee from over 50 of the country's top roasters. Their experts have taste-tested thousands of coffees, curating over 450 amazing roasts. Whether you're new to coffee or you know exactly what you like, they'll handpick the perfect match for you. The subscription makes it so easy. No more last-minute grocery store runs or settling for whatever's on the shelf. And if you don't love your first bag, no worries. Trade will replace it for free until they get it just right. Right now, Trade is exclusively offering our listeners 40% off your first order at drinktrade.com/LockedOnNHL. That's drinktrade.com/LockedOnNHL for 40% off your first order. That's drinktrade.com/LockedOnNHL. Okay, let's talk about some of the individual performances in the loss to Colorado. And we start with the goaltender, and I am going to go on a rant for about a minute here. So I don't do this often, but this really bothered me. And I will say up front, I do not blame David Rittich for this loss. In fact, I would say he made more quality saves than the other goalie across the ice from him, and that goalie got a shutout. So that says more about the Kings than it does about anyway. But I don't blame David Rittich for this loss. I really don't. But I have no idea why he started this game. He's been terrible on the road. This is not a back-to-back situation with, Darcy Kemper. And if Jim Hiller and goalie coach Mike Buckley want to give Darcy Kemper a day off or want to rest him a little bit, there are better opportunities to do that with him. Specifically, some home games. You've got Seattle, you've got Anaheim coming up. Darcy Kemper has been pretty good at home. He's terrible on the road. Why don't you play him at home against lesser competition? Even if they did want to give him some rest, let's just say that was the reason why. I still don't buy that as a good explanation, because Darcy Kemper has only played 42 games this season because of injuries. It's not like he's been carrying this huge load all season, and now you're worried about him being worn out going into the playoffs because all these starts are starting to add up. Plus, the Kings are battling for home ice advantage, and that's a huge thing. So in a big game against a big-time opponent on the road, you don't go with your #1 goalie who's being discussed as a possible Vezina Trophy finalist? That makes zero sense to me. So what did Jim Hiller have to say about the decision afterwards? Here's what he said, quote, he's talking about David Rittich. He's coming off that game against Carolina. We didn't want to, based on that performance, we didn't want to push him out too long. We knew he was going to get in. We knew this would be a tough game. We thought, you know what? Let's try him to build him up from the Carolina game and see if he can come in here and steal us one. It certainly wasn't on him. If you score 0 goals, you're not going to win. End quote. Well, I will agree with the last two sentences of that. It wasn't on him. And if you score 0 goals, you're not going to win. But all the rest of it, I don't understand. He talks about the Carolina game. Okay, that was a home game. It wasn't like he had gotten some big road win and you're like, oh, let's see if he can build off that. But again, David Rittich has not been good on the road by any stretch. What would make you think he was going to steal one against that team on the road? The Kings are going to go as far as Darcy Kemper is going to take him. So what is the point of even building David Rittich up for what? Building him up for what? He's not going to play in the playoffs. And if he does, we're screwed. So I ask again, why do we care about building up him from the Carolina game? And we're battling for home ice in the playoffs. That matters. Every game matters. So again, I'm not completely against possibly giving Darcy Kemper a rest here and there. Although, like I said, it's not like he's carried this giant load all season. But if you're going to do that, don't do it. Don't rest him in this situation. Play him in the big games. We need him. He's one of our greatest assets. All right. Look, I don't think the Kings played any less hard because David Riddick was in net. But I would say, what kind of message does this send to the team when you're playing a big-time opponent on the road and you don't go with your number one goalie, one of your best players on the team? I know how it made me feel when I heard the news. I was really excited about this game. And then I heard Darcy Kemper was not going to play, and it kind of deflated me. I don't think it's out of the realm of possibility that it may have done that to the team as well. Now, again, I don't blame David Riddick for this loss, so that's not the excuse, but it doesn't mean this still wasn't a bad decision. Yes, I understand the Kings didn't score any goals, so you could say it doesn't matter who was in net. It's still not a good decision. Look, if Darcy Kemper's sick or there's some sort of injury they're not telling us about, then obviously that's something else. But all reports are that Darcy Kemper is fine, and he certainly looked fine in the last start on Tuesday against the Rangers. So add it all together, and this makes no sense to me. I think this was an awful decision. Even though it doesn't, you could say it doesn't matter, it's still a bad decision. So, I mean, if there's something I'm missing, let me know. We have a fan feedback show every Friday. If there's something I'm just completely blanking on, I'm not claiming I have all the answers to everything, but to me, this decision made no sense. Not at all. If you have an explanation, if there's something I'm missing, let me know. Send me an email. Explain it to me. But don't tell me, that he needed to rest. He didn't need to rest. He doesn't need to rest. And if he does need to rest, pick a better game for him to rest. Okay, on to David Riddick's performance. And like I said, I don't blame him for this loss. It is entirely possible that if Darcy Kemper started this game, the Kings would have lost too. We will never know. We'll never have the chance of knowing. But it would have been nice to have our to go down swinging with our best goalie. I'm over it. Well, not over it, but I'm gonna drop it. So Riddick had a good opening period, I thought. 14 saves, some pretty big saves. He had one against Avs star Nathan McKinnon when he broke in with some speed. So a good start. Second period, though, Cale Makar made a nice move, speeding past Joel Edmondson, one of those kind of mismatches I was talking about. Got position, was able to put the puck in a dangerous area in front. It gets tapped in. About a minute later, shot off the boards, takes a friendly bounce for Colorado to the other side of the net. It was retrieved and stuffed in. Power play one-timer. Riddick's moving from his left to his right. It's a tough save to make. Third period, another power play goal for Colorado, another cross-ice pass that goes into the net. So I don't consider any of those goals he allowed soft goals. Now, would Darcy Kemper have made a few of those saves in net? Maybe. We'll never know. But in the end, David Riddick wasn't the reason why the Kings lost. I still, though, think that they should have started Darcy Kemper and given themselves the best opportunity to try and get a win. So David Riddick falls to 14, 13, and 2 on the season. He's now 4-11 on the road. As for the Kings offense, it wasn't like they didn't have some scoring chances. They had a few. Trevor Moore had a mini breakaway. Drew Doughty had a big blast on a one-timer on a pass from Kevin Fiala. Quentin Byfield had a huge chance in the slot. He ended up making a move around the goalie, slid the puck through the crease. Warren Fogle couldn't stuff it in, and then he ran into the goalie and took a penalty. Andrei Kuzmenko had a one-timer on a power play. The Kings had some quality chances, but they didn't convert on any of them. They didn't have as many as Colorado, but it wasn't like the Kings had no chances at all in this one, but they didn't take advantage when they did have some chances. Couple of quick notes on a few of the Kings' individual players. Anze Kopitar went awkwardly in the boards, feet first in the opening period, kind of got taken down from behind. He was shaken up on the play, but he stayed in the game, looked like he was okay the rest of the way. Hopefully he doesn't wake up tomorrow and is feeling some effects of that. I wanted to say something about Andrei Kuzmenko. The narrative that we were told that he doesn't play defense isn't true. When he came over from the Philadelphia Flyers, I read many articles about him being a player who doesn't play any defense and doesn't have any desire to play any defense. And from what I've seen from him so far, that's just not true. I'm not saying he's an amazing defensive player, but he plays hard on defense and he makes plays. He had a great back check in this game when it was 3-0 and broke up a 2-on-1. So I haven't seen that at all from him. I think he actually has a desire to play some defense and has make some decent defensive plays. So I did want to mention real quick, Jeff Malott made his Kings debut in for Tanner Jeannot, just his second NHL game ever. He actually had the Kings' best scoring chance in the opening period, had a good forecheck, put on a hit, created a turnover. He gets a chance in the slot, had a good opportunity, but the goalie made a save. Played 9 minutes and 19 seconds, had 2 shots on goal and 3 hits. All in all, not a bad debut with the LA Kings. Would have been very cool if he could have scored on that opening chance in his first game as an LA King, but I thought he played okay. Real quick, team leaders in this loss to Colorado: Quentin Byfield, Adrian Kempe, Trevor Moore, Joel Edmondson all had 3 shots on goal. Jeff Malott and Mikey Anderson led the team with 3 hits each. Drew Doughty and Phillip Deneau each had 2 blocked shots. Drew Doughty led the Kings in time on ice, 22 minutes, 31 seconds, and Phillip Deneau led the Kings in the faceoff circle, winning 9 of 14 faceoffs. All right, up next, we're going to check the latest Pacific Division standings. There's actually some good news there. Plus, several Kings prospects opened up postseason play. We're going to tell you how they did, and it was pretty good. That's next here on Locked On LA Kings, your team every day. You just realized your business needs to hire someone yesterday. How can you find amazing candidates fast? Easy. Just use Indeed. When it comes to hiring, Indeed is all you need. Stop struggling to get your job post seen on other sites. Indeed's sponsored jobs put your post at the top of the page and help you reach the right candidates faster. If you're in a spot where you need to hire right away, pressure's on, and every day without the right person is a setback, that's exactly when Indeed's sponsored jobs come in handy. They'll make sure your post is seen by the right candidates right now. And now you can speed up the hiring process with a $75 sponsored job credit. Just go to Indeed.com/LockedOnNHL right now and support our show by saying you heard about Indeed on this podcast. Terms and conditions apply. Hiring, Indeed, is all you need. All right, let's check out the Pacific Division standings. Golden Knights still on top of the Pacific through 71 games. I've got a graphic for this, by the way, if you're watching on YouTube. Through 71 games, Golden Knights, the record of 43-20-8 for 94 points. The LA Kings, 71 games played as well, 40-22-9 for 89 points. So the Kings are still 5 points back of Vegas for first in the division. But more importantly, the Kings are still 2 points up on the Edmonton Oilers for third place and home ice advantage in a possible first-round playoff matchup. The Oilers, through 72 games, record of 41-26-5 for 87 points. They still do not have stars Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl, and they got blown out by the Seattle Kraken on Thursday night. 6-1 was the final. So that is the one silver lining in the Kings' loss to Colorado. They did not lose any ground when it comes to that second spot and the Edmonton Oilers. The Kings still have a game in hand on the Oilers, and they have those 2 huge head-to-head matchups against Edmonton coming up at home April 5th, on the road April 14th. As for the LA Kings, back in action this weekend with back-to-back games on Saturday and Sunday. Saturday, 4 p.m. against the Maple Leafs, Sunday, 7 p.m. against the Sharks. I did want to update you on Kings prospects playing postseason hockey. There were 4 Kings players in action on Thursday night, and they all won. We'll start with the Kings' top prospect, number 1 pick in 2024 forward Liam Greentree. He had 2 goals and 2 assists, was named the OHL Performer of the Night as his Windsor Spitfires cruised to a 7-2 win over the Sault Ste. Marie Greyhounds. Windsor takes a 1-0 series lead in that opening playoff series. So a great start to the postseason for Liam Greentree. College hockey, the NCAA National Championship Tournament got underway. Kings goalie prospect Hampton Slukinski, the Kings' 4th-round pick in 2024, made 29 saves in net in Western Michigan's 2-1 double overtime win over Minnesota State. I watched this game. It was a blast. Slukinski wasn't the best goalie on the ice because the Minnesota State goalie, it was really, really good, saw a lot more shots, and he's a finalist for the Hobie Baker Award, which is the hockey Heisman, but Hampton Slukinski looked very good as well, especially for a freshman in his first NCAA championship game. He looked very poised. Really liked the way he played, and great for him to not only get the win, but get another game at least for Western Michigan. Also, great night for the Slukinski family as Hampton's older brother scored the overtime game winner in the game as well. Up next for Western Michigan is UMass. That's because the Minutemen from the University of Massachusetts knocked off Minnesota 5-4 in overtime. Kings' fourth-round draft pick in 2023, junior forward Kenny Connors, had an assist in the win. So it'll be Hampton Slukinski and Western Michigan against Kenny Connors and UMass. The battle of a couple of Kings draft picks coming up down the road. Also, Kings' second-round pick in 2022, senior forward Jack Hughes, had a goal and an assist in Boston University's 8-3 win, their victory over Ohio State. So Hughes' career will have at least one more game as BU has advanced to face Cornell in the next round. And I have seen some articles. I know there's been some talk that the Kings either aren't going to sign Jack Hughes or that he's not going to sign with the Kings. That could be a possibility. Nothing is official at this point. So until we hear news that the Kings aren't signing him or that he's not going to sign with the Kings, then we'll continue to let you know how Jack Hughes is doing. Coming up on Friday, we've got 5 more prospects in action. OHL playoffs continuing. Goalie Carter George, Kings' second-round pick in 2024, will be in net against Kings defenseman Jared Woolley, a 6th-round pick. It's the Owen Sound Attack is taking on the London Knights there. Flint Firebirds will be in action, and Kings' 5th-round pick in 2023 defenseman Matthew Mania playing for Flint against the Kitchener Rangers. And in the Western Hockey League playoffs, Prince George Cougars and Kings' 3rd-round pick forward Cohen Zemer will be in action on Friday against the Portland Winterhawks. And one college hockey game featuring a couple of Kings prospects. Denver's facing Providence. Denver has 2 Kings draft picks, forward Jared Wright, 6th-round pick in 2022, and forward James Reeder, 7th-round pick in 2024. They will be in action as well. We'll keep you updated on how all those Kings prospects do going forward. A great start for them so far. All right, for you everydayers, those of you that listen and watch Locked On Kings every day, coming up on Friday, it's our usual Friday Kings feedback show. I know that this show has been posted late Thursday night, so it'll be ready for you Friday morning, but then later in the night and then Saturday morning, we're kind of, I think you understand. When we're recording these shows late after Kings games, when they're 7 or 7:30 start times, it's our Thursday show, but it's kind of our Friday morning show. Same thing goes for the feedback show. It'll be recorded Friday night. It's kind of there for you Saturday morning. So anyway, if you want to send an email for the show, if you want to explain to me why David Riddick was the right decision, you're welcome to try and do so. The email address is lockedoneddie@gmail.com, EDDIE. And you're always welcome to post your thoughts on each show if you're watching on YouTube in the comment section. We'd love for you to stay connected with the show on social media, X, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok. We are at Locked On LA Kings. I'm Eddie Garcia. Thank you as always for listening and watching this episode of Locked On LA Kings, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Have a great rest of your day. We'll talk to you tomorrow. And as always, go Kings go.